your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat. Of course, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Hope you're having a great day because we're about to make it better. We're very honored and fortunate to be joined by Indiana head football coach Tom Allen. Coach Allen, how are you, sir?
Oh, man, I'm doing great. Just having an awesome spring, getting ready for these summer months to get rolling here.
Well, I hope you're staying dry, man. We've had a lot of rain in Bloomington here the last few days.
No question. It's been that way all spring, and there's no sign of stopping. It's crazy.
Well, thank you again for you and Jeff Kegg, for the media guy, for helping us get this taken care of. But any idea how many miles you travel just in a recruiting season?
You know what? That would be an interesting stat. I've never done that. It would be a whole bunch. I know that, and it's gosh. Sometimes we're in 3 states in one day. I think it's my record for states in one day that I've been in, and so yeah, we log a bunch of hours, a bunch of miles, and that's just part of it, though. That's what we got to do.
Well, and when you originally took this job, a lot of people questioned whether somebody with no collegiate head coach experience could or should start at the Big Ten level. I'll be honest, I was one of those people then. But I got to tell you, man, after watching what you've done, it's just utterly amazing, the results that you're getting on the recruiting side that's never been achieved at Indiana. What does it take besides your unstoppable amount of energy that you have to get something like that accomplished?
Well, I do think it begins with that because I think it takes a tremendous amount of energy to get on the phone with these recruits, to message them, to get their parents on the phone, to go visit them, to go just to be able to put the time in because it's about building relationships, and building relationships takes time, and there's no shortcut to it. And so to me, and I've worked with a lot of different guys, and I just believe so strongly that I have to be the strongest recruiter on our staff, and I have to lead by example with that, and that just involves a whole bunch of my energy and a whole bunch of my time to be able to build relationships and create an environment where the parents and the decision makers in these young men's lives trust us, and that's what it comes down to.
Well, it's certainly no lack of energy if you've ever been around Coach Allen. You know that's for a fact. But obviously what you're doing is the goal is to be able to compete in the toughest division in all of college football, the Big Ten East. How hard has it been to create a culture of winning in that at that level when there hasn't been one really before, not solidly set?
Yeah, it's a challenge. There's no question about it. And you kind of go through and say, how do you get players here? Well, you got to win. Well, you got to be able to win. You got to have great players to win. And so that dynamic is definitely a challenge. But to me, what you do is you just you take the guys you have and you develop them and you create an unbelievable amount of belief that they can compete at the highest level, and they come here to the Big Ten, and then you got to go out and find great players and convince them to come here and convince them to be the reason why the change occurs. And, we don't have a very recent history that allows these kids to look at. So my whole goal has been to create a vision for what the future is going to be, and that they can come here and be a big part of that future and make history here at Indiana and do things that have happened in the past but not in their lifetime. And some kids that really resonates with. They want to come here and be a part of making history. And so, but you got to take the guys you got here right now, and we got to develop them. We got to find ways to close out these close games and finish those close games. And so you create some momentum with on-the-field success. Right now we've created a lot of momentum with recruiting success. And those guys, this 2019 class, most of them aren't even here yet, and so they'll be arriving here in about a week. But that's the big class we just signed. The class before that, they obviously are here as freshmen, and those guys are being developed. So it's just taking these guys that are on campus to developing them as players, developing them mentally, and creating a belief that they can go out there and get the job done on game day.
You've maintained, talking about developing, you've maintained a lot of continuity on your staff. Something else that's very tough to do, especially in a situation where you're trying to build something or grow something. It's hard to get everybody to stay and buy in and all that, but you've really done a pretty good job of that.
Well, that also goes into, I would say they would agree with this because we've talked about it openly, that they believe in what we're doing. Some guys had opportunities to go other places, but they see the vision, they see the progress we're making, they believe in the culture we're creating, and they know we're really, really close. And they want to be here when it changes because they know it's going to be special. They know it's something that hasn't happened for a long time, and there's just there's an environment here that coaches love to be in because their family's valued. Their time is valued. Yeah, there's no doubt we work really, really hard. But I try to create an environment where they can be great husbands and fathers as well as be great football coaches. And that's the balance that you have to have. And that's something that is hard to find and it's hard to get in this profession. And I've done it long enough to know that it's not that way everywhere. So I think that's helped us with our continuity, and it's a fun environment to be in. We work extremely hard together for each other and with each other.
And being a relatively new head coach still, what is the toughest thing you've seen as being a head coach that maybe wasn't as obvious from being an assistant?
Oh, just the time demands. You just get spread so thin. I think that, when you're an assistant and focusing on your area of responsibilities, you're busy and you're recruiting and you're coaching and all those things. But then when now you're sitting in this chair and you're over so many things that have nothing to do with game day, or things that perceived to be football-related things that take so much of your time, and any issue that comes up, you're part of it, whether it's academic issues or off-the-field issues or something in housing or whatever happens with our players and something in recruiting. And so, you just find yourself being in a position where you've got to, wear a lot of different hats and be very, very organized and have a great plan so you can be efficient in your time.
Part of that was elevating Kane Womack to the defensive coordinator position. You relinquished those duties, something that people really, they were excited that when you were there because you did a crazy amount of job of turning that defense around. But you're also still part of the defense, but you've really turned the duties over to him. And I know that. How hard was that for you to do?
Well, I think it was something that I knew I needed to do. And I think that when you go through and you start to realize, as I mentioned before, with the schedule and the time demands, all those things, I got to the point where I felt like that I knew it was time to make that adjustment. But when it comes to actually doing it during the season, I think it's going to be the hardest point, is on game day when I'm not making those decisions, and I got to do a great job of trusting Coach Womack and this defensive staff and the decisions they're going to make in the calls. Now, I'm going to be involved with the game planning part of that. I'm going to watch all that film with those guys. But when it actually comes to calling that, I'm going to relinquish that. And I think that's the hard part. You got to, be able to not second guess and realize that everybody has their own thoughts on things. But I will say the system is in place, and Kane understands it, and it's not going to be dramatically different. And so I think we got that established. We got a culture established of how we're going to play defense and an expectation how hard we're going to play, how we're going to create takeaways, how we're going to be very fundamentally sound, tackle extremely well, and play very hard. So I feel good about that, and I think that because he's been here for a whole year, he knows the system inside and out. I feel great about the decision.
You also have a new offensive coordinator in Kalen DeBoer. Now that you're the head coach and you don't have as much duties on the one side of the ball, is it hard to not involve yourself more on the offensive side? To trust them?
It can be. Yeah, and I've seen head coaches, I've been with several different coaches. Most of them have been offensive-minded guys, and I see him, in the past I see him kind of come on the defensive side or come into our meetings and kind of just meddle a little bit and this and that, and I usually saw it not be very positive because they weren't in there all the time, and then sometimes the things, and you felt that the coordinator felt pressured to maybe do those things that they were suggesting, even though it may not fit with what you're trying to accomplish or your overall system. So I don't want to do that. I don't want to meddle, but I definitely want to be an assistant. So I want to be able to, make sure I have a great feel for what they're doing, why they're doing it, so I can hold them accountable for the things that we say we want to do as an offensive staff. And so there's things I want to see done and things accomplished. And so, yeah, like I said, I don't want to meddle on that side of the ball, but I want to be able to be a part of what they're doing and help them, be effective. And at the end of the day, you hire great people and you let them do their job. That's what I want to do with Caleb.
And talk about the offense, man. He's got a lot of nice pieces to work with. Is this the deepest unit you've seen at your time at Indiana overall, period?
Yeah, I would say on both sides of the football, there's more good players. There's guys at every position that I think can make plays and do good things. And we got depth at quarterback for the first time since I've been here and in a long time in our program. And we got bunch of receivers and several running backs. And probably the biggest concern or question mark is depth on the offensive line. I love our first unit with that group, but we got some young guys that have to come along with that. But other than that position, there's a lot of experience depth, at the receiver spot and at running back and quarterback. So I just feel like that, that would probably be an accurate statement.
And in sports, we hear a lot of certain buzzwords all the time, and one of them is buy-in. But I hate to be cliche, but man, this team certainly seems to be bought in down to a man, and there's nothing more difficult than to get 150 people to agree and be on the same page.
It is a challenge for sure, but it's one of my number one objectives and responsibilities is to create that buy-in with this team, and it's grown every single year I've been here, and it is at an all-time high since I've been here. I want it to continue to grow, and they believe in what we're doing. They believe in our strength staff. They believe in the off-season program that we're doing. They believe in what we're doing on the field, and I think that's indicative of how hard they're working right now in the weight room. And the month of May is a discretionary month. We can't make them stay here and be here, but by the numbers, and you see the majority of our team chose to do that, and they're here working hard, and that's a great sign, and that shows that they have bought in and they do believe, and they're hungry. We got a big chunk of our team that haven't had an opportunity to play in a bowl game, and they want that. They're hungry for that, and they know that they got to do the little things right and be willing to sacrifice for this team, and that's where LEO is so huge. When you talk about staff retention, I think that's a big part of that. That's not just for the players; it's for our staff as well, and then the buy-in as well is just a part of that whole equation of the culture that you create, and guys that want to be here and that have invested and work really, really hard, and they love each other, they care about each other, and they train their tails off for each other.
Obviously, back-to-back 5 and 7 seasons, not what you'd wanted, but everyone that I've talked to, that I hear speak, everything seems to be going in the right direction. What do you have to do next to really get over that hump and to get to where you're trying to get to?
Yeah, it's very disappointing, to finish the second year with another 5 and 7 record that saw us be in so many close games again that could have changed everything with one play here, one play there. So, I think the number one thing is depth. That to me, that's what it comes down to, and it's depth on both sides of the football and special teams, and that to me is what we have to keep building. That's why the recruiting is so huge, and bringing in another class, even though we're still going to be young. We're only going to have 12 seniors this year, 10 juniors. That's a very, very young football team, but we have some experienced youth that will pay dividends, I believe, because we played a bunch of those guys last year, and then some freshmen coming in, they're going to have a chance to contribute. And just that depth that those guys create and develop on our players to be able to create an environment where, we can roll guys in and it gets late in the game, late in the third quarter, late in the fourth quarter, where we found ourselves in these games and having opportunities to win these games. We have to be able to execute at a high level in those points, and having fresher guys that can execute, and bringing in a number 2 that is not a major drop off from the number 1 is a big part of that, and making those competitive plays and just allowing us to finish. So to me, it's recruiting, it's player development to create that depth.
Coach, you're entering your 3rd season, and football's different than any other sport. In that building or turning something around, it's like trying to turn the Titanic and not hit that iceberg. I know you were probably confident from day one, but was there a moment where you felt, hey, this ship is really turning?
I just would say probably last season when we knew we were so young. And it's one of those seasons that could have gone either direction, because we play a lot of good football teams, and you have to fight and claw and scratch to win football games at this level. And so, being as young as we were and playing so many freshmen and having so many guys that are so green on the field, to be able to still know that we're going toe to toe with the best in the country, and we're getting late in games against top 10 teams and top 25 teams, and we're a play here and a play there from with a really, really young football team, knowing that we're right there. And then you sign a class that's the highest ranked class in the history of the program after going 5 and 7 for 2 years in a row. But you see that the belief is there, and the excitement for the program is there from the recruits and their families, and they see the change. They see on the field that we're becoming a complete football team in all 3 phases. And we got to keep getting better. We got to keep working hard, and we got to continue to do the things that we're doing. But I just think that the progress is evident to me. I know there's critics out there, and they should be, and no one's as patient as anybody wants us to be, and we all want it now, and I do too. And so, but I do feel like that, to see us be able to go in year 2 with losing so many key seniors on defense and come back in year 2 and not being as good on defense, yes, but also being able to be right there with the top teams in the country, and to be able to be exchanging blows with them when it matters and late in games. And so just having to know that when it happens week after week after week, it's not something that's just by chance. This is what we've created. This is where we are, and we just got to continue to stay the course.
Yeah, I'm not sure if people, everyone grasps the depth of the challenge, but not only do you play in the toughest division in all of college football, the Big Ten East, but you also get the opportunity to go to Nebraska next year, Penn State, Michigan State, and at Purdue. A very challenging schedule.
There's no question, and it's that way every year, and with the two teams we draw in the other side of the division outside of Purdue are Northwestern, who won the West last year, and then at Nebraska, which is always a very difficult place to play. And so, that every single season, it's just going to be that way here. And so you just embrace it, and I know that that's makes it difficult for sure, and it makes it difficult to create change in that environment without a doubt. But I think that's why the recruiting piece is so critical. That's why I have to work so hard at recruiting, and that's one reason why I felt like even stepping back as D coordinator, once we got that level of play established on that side of the ball, was critical for me to now focus even more on recruiting and do a better job, because I know that we got to keep putting classes together, and we got to stack 2 and 3 and 4 classes together. Right now we've got 2 that we've been able to put together since our staff's been here, and I've been the head coach. And so we got to get ready for number 3, and then we got to get ready for number 4. And so once you get all those classes together, then you'll start seeing, I think, the true change of a system that's in place, that's developing players, recruiting players, and doing a great job of finishing out games.
And you've talked about depth, and of course recruiting is the lifeblood of any program, but you've really embraced the rule change that allows freshmen to play those 4 games without burning the red shirt season. How helpful has that been, and you guys trying to get to where you're getting?
I think it's been very important. I think it was I knew it was going to be a great rule when they voted it in, and it proved to be that way, just because of getting guys a chance to get their feet wet, and still have another year to develop and not burn that whole year just for playing a snap or 2. And so you get a chance to get guys in there. Now we've had to really strategically sit down and have a whole plan of attack for that, when you're going to play those guys, how you're going to play those guys, and whether it's early in the season, middle of the season, or end of the season. And so we have a whole board in our meeting room where we go through our freshmen and talk about who's going to come. And you really don't know that until you kind of get through fall camp, but we'll have a pretty clear picture after that with this current freshman class. But I think you have to maximize your roster, and that's one thing we've tried to really do here that allows us to create more depth at key times and key situations, especially on special teams. And so that, to me, it just takes a lot of effort on our part to be able to get that all lined up.
You've run a really balanced recruiting attack. You go after the top in-state kids, and then you got those from the key battle areas, Florida, where you have great relationships, expanded that to Detroit areas. But talk about the importance of the homegrown kids for this Indiana program.
Well, they're the foundation, and I'm an Indiana kid myself, born and raised here, and just believe in the guys that come here from Indiana and what it means to them to be able to be a part of this great university and play for their home state. And I want to do a great job of convincing those best players in Indiana to come to IU and play football. And if they we want to be able to get a core of those guys, because I think they care so much. They're going to fight like crazy to help us beat Purdue, and they're going to fight like crazy to get this program where they know they want it to be, and their families want it to be, and their home high schools want it to be, and their home high school coaches want it to be. And that to me is very, very important, and makes it very powerful. But then you got to mix that in with guys from across the country that want to be here and are talented enough to help us win in the Big Ten. So yeah, it's a universal approach, but it all starts at home.
To follow up on that, it's camping season. The Indiana football camps are coming up. They present a great opportunity for high schoolers to get a taste of big-time college football, to get a taste of Indiana, but it also helps you and your staff to see some of these kids.
Absolutely. There's nothing like a live evaluation. And since I can't go out in the spring to evaluate players, it's very important that we get into a camp. So June 1st is our first mega camp. We got every university, every college in the state of Indiana will be here from all different levels, from Division III up to the Big Ten, and then some MAC schools and even some D2 schools and 1AAs outside the surrounding states, but really Midwest focus. And then we've got team camp here as well. We got 7-on-7 on June 8th that teams will come to, and then we've got 5 days where we go and we travel around. And so we go to all of our top recruiting areas and do satellite camps. And we have 5 of those that we can do legally, and we'll go down there and maximize our 10-day window that we have to be able to get guys either on campus or us to physically go see them and get eyes on them so we can evaluate them. So it's a very important time for us.
I know HoosierSportsCamps.com is a place where they can go, probably call the football office if they need any information as well.
Absolutely, and that's the website to get on. You can register there, and it's about getting seen, and that's one reason. The big thing that is for our mega camp is that I realize not every single young man that comes is going to play in the Big Ten, so we try and I've coached at every level except for junior college. So I want all those small college guys and mid-level guys to be able to be here and evaluate, and it's about finding a home and an opportunity for someone to be able to extend their career and get their education paid for and help them create a future for themselves. So that's what we're trying to do here.
Coach Allen from Indiana football, I cannot thank you enough. You've always been so gracious with us and with your time. We really, really appreciate you.
Oh, absolutely. You're very, very welcome, and have yourself an awesome week. Go IU and LEO.
Thank you, Coach. Coach Tom Allen from Indiana
buddy.
football, thank you very much. And we'll be back with more here on Indiana Sports Beat from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is A.J. Moyer.
This is Dan Duckett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
This is former Indiana basketball player Brian Evans, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
Just another way to survive. California, rest in peace. Simultaneous release.
Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Jim Coyle with you here at Indiana Sports Beat, and man, we could not be happier than having a good friend of the show, Michael Lewis. Michael, how are you, man?
I'm doing great. The sun is shining bright out here in California, so I'm excited. And obviously, there's a lot of change going on, but couldn't be happier to land at a place like UCLA.
Yeah, I was going to say anything new happening in your life, but wow, what a great turnaround, man. I mean, obviously things didn't work out for Coach Miles at Nebraska, but couldn't be it's not a bad landing spot out in sunny California.
No, I think you could probably find some worse places. You know, this is pretty good, but it just it's obviously a great opportunity for me. And anytime you get join a university and a program like UCLA that not only with the athletics but the outstanding academics that they have, and obviously everybody knows about the history of the basketball program and what they've been able to do on a national scale as far as national championships and all the great players. I mean, there's too many to even start naming, and just what the program means to those players, what the program represents, and to be a part of that, is very special.
Well, speaking of players, man, no player comes to mind quicker and faster than a certain tall guy that does TV out there.
Yeah, I look forward to meeting him, and I'll probably just sit and listen. When those guys are around, and I was out here yesterday. We had we're on a quarter system out here, so we're still able to work our guys out, and just a couple guys coming through the gym yesterday, that are out of the NBA season right now, coming back to work out. It's a special place, and to have the access to those guys and to everything that they've been able to accomplish and those resources, it's going to be a really cool thing, for me to be a part of.
I was talking about Bill Walton obviously earlier, and he is one of the most famous names to come through there. I mean, very, very gregarious character, and it's funny thing, I love listening to him when he does TV. He cracks me up, but he's so smart, and I think he kind of lulls people in, and all of a sudden, but he knows exactly what the heck's going on in those games, and man, he is really good at that.
Yeah, he's obviously an interesting character. I haven't listened to him much because normally I'm in bed when he's announcing games, and then that's going to be something to get used to. Like the last 2 days, I've woken up about 4:05 and 5. So I'm sure my body clock will eventually adjust. But there's a lot of great things that obviously UCLA is going to be able to opportunity wise provide me with, and just it's just really cool when you're able to you walk. Just around the campus and in the facilities and the practice facility, and then obviously Poly Pavilion and the Athletics Hall of Fame. Like, you just realize that how many really impactful people have been a part of this campus.
Well, we talk about college basketball, obviously one of the most iconic programs. You come from an iconic program in Indiana, but UCLA and John Wooden that started back in the late 60s, and they won all those national titles, 10 that he won. Of course, he's from Indiana. And then you had the previous coaching regime there, that's Coach Alford, obviously from Indiana and an IU connection. And then you have what a connection between Indiana and UCLA.
Yeah, it's kind of strange when you mention it the way that you just did, but I mean, I feel so lucky, to be able to play where I played, and have that experience and feel the way that I do about the experience I had in Indiana, and then to be able to coach out here. When you talk about college basketball, I've been able to do some really, really fun things, but to be able to play at Indiana and now coach at UCLA, you're talking about two of the great programs, and so I know how lucky I am. I get it, I'm just excited to get to work.
And you get to coach under Mick Cronin, who left Cincinnati to go out there, had a great run there. But he's one of those up-and-comers, man. You knew that something big was coming for him as well. And UCLA, it worked out for him to be out there. And, of course, it turned out for you to be. How did that come about?
Well, I first met Mick when I was an assistant at Eastern Illinois, and he was the head coach at Murray State before he left and went to Cincinnati. It was the first time that I met him. We competed against each other, and then when I was at Butler, we played a Cincinnati team one year at Cincinnati. Just kind of being in the same geographical area there for so many years, we would always run across each other recruiting and things, and I think there's always just been a mutual respect there, and honestly, this kind of came out of the blue for me. When you get let go from Nebraska, and all of a sudden you wake up in the morning, you find yourself with nothing to do. You end up cleaning out your garage with your wife on Good Friday, and you get your phone buzzes, and you get a random text message from Mick. And he had just taken the job a week or two before, and just sent a text and, hey, just checking in on you. How are you doing? And I'd gotten a bunch of texts from different people. When you're in that situation, the coaching community is pretty close, and so I just responded with, hey, I'm doing well. I mean, not as well as you are, but, and it just kind of started to snowball. He just talked about, he was thinking about his staff and different things, and telling me how great it was out here. Not that I needed to be sold, but and then we had some conversations, and I was able to get out here and look around for a couple of days and be around him for a couple of days, and things worked out, and so. Couldn't be more excited to be a part of this, and to work for somebody like Mick. The success that he's had and how he goes about it. I think he's been in 9 consecutive NCAA tournaments, which I think he's one of 5 or 6 coaches in the country that has a streak like that. And so it's another opportunity to work under obviously a very good coach and learn and continue to try to grow into what I'd like to become.
And obviously UCLA storied passes have talked about, but they're trying to get back to that too, and to be a part of that, that unbelievable history and all that goes with that. That's got to be just an incredible thing, just in and of itself.
Well, you can feel it, just walking through campus and walking into the facilities. You can feel the tradition, and I think you also when you work here, and I'm sure it'll hit me more and more, but you feel a great deal of responsibility, to the program, and to do things the right way, and to win at a high level, and to build this back up and have the type of success that they're accustomed to, because you do. I understand, what it's like to be a former player at Indiana, so I have a small understanding of what the former players feel for this place, and so I do. I feel some responsibility to have some success and to do it the right way, and to find, the type of individuals that will represent this place the way that it is expected.
And UCLA, although they haven't had the success that they want to here of late, they're still had a ton of players that come through there that have gone on to the NBA, and just they continue to produce a lot of talent.
Yeah, the list of NBA players, obviously former, but even current, is amazing. And the impact that UCLA has out here in the West, it's huge. I mean, obviously they can recruit nationally, but when you're just talking about the West, you talk about UCLA, and right now it's Gonzaga and Arizona, and Washington's kind of getting it rolling. But there's no reason why we at UCLA shouldn't be able to put ourselves in position to recruit the best of the best, especially here on the West Coast, but nationally as well.
We not too long ago, you had Chris Wilkes that was out there, a kid from Indiana, and Schilling was there coaching under Alford before he came and joined Archie Miller's staff. Is Indiana one of the places, obviously, you plan to recruit?
Well, I think we can recruit anywhere. I think when you're at a place like UCLA and have the tradition and the history and the resources and everything that this place represents, like I've said before, I don't ever think you limit yourself to anywhere you can recruit. So I think we're going to try to go recruit the best of the best and find guys that fit here academically and can represent UCLA for what it needs to be represented for, and that's the history of excellence.
And you've got the Lakers and all that goes with that stuff out there, and the Showtime that they used to have. But it's a different environment, basketball and otherwise. And I've not spent any time around the UCLA program, obviously, but it seems like a much different environment than, say, the Midwest.
Well, I think you're going to find that whether you go to the East Coast, the Midwest, the South. I think each area kind of has its own little niche. And I'm sitting in my office looking out the window and there was definitely not any palm trees in Lincoln, Nebraska. And so, it is different, but, there's NBA guys, across the sidewalk in the men's gym here at UCLA working out all summer. Our guys have access to play pickup games with them, obviously, and that's not even touching upon just the UCLA pros and the alumni. There's a reason why, everybody wants to get to LA and spend their free time, when they have the opportunity. It's a beautiful place. Campus is unreal. The facilities are great. So it's a unique opportunity for our guys to kind of be around guys that are doing what they eventually would like to do and to see the level that they have to work out to get there. I've only been around our guys for one workout, but was really impressed, not only with their abilities, but just who they are as people and how well spoken they are. And, it just kind of, I think, represents a small piece of what UCLA stands for.
And you speak of the guys that you got. Obviously, recruiting season. Is recruiting already set for the season for UCLA, or do you guys have to get at it right now?
Well, we have one open scholarship, and I don't know if we're going to fill that or not. I think maybe if the right situation came to us, it's something we might explore. But I'm pretty fortunate in that regard that you're not coming in as a new staff and need to sign 6 or 7 new players. So the roster is pretty stable. We've got to tighten up a few screws here. With some accountability things, and they let Steve go early in the year. Anytime you have that type of change, things can get a little squirrely at times. But we've got good guys. We tighten up a few things and have a good summer and enter the fall the right way, and we'll be okay. But I've been very impressed with my interactions with the guys on our team so far.
You talked about doing things the right way, and that brings to mind all the stuff that's been going on, the FBI corruption trial and all that. How difficult has it been to be out there on the recruiting trail with all that stuff going on out there?
Well, I don't know how. I mean, it is what it is, and it's something that we've known. That's you've always kind of speculated things have been happening like that for a long time, so it doesn't really change anything. I think it, now that it's brought to light, it's disappointing. You care about the game that you represent in college basketball and what it can do for so many, and yet we're damaging our game for the top 1%. And giving our game a bad name, and we need to protect our game a little bit better. We need to do things the right way, and it starts with us as coaches, But I also think it's starting to trickle up to athletic directors and presidents that, when there's things going on at your institution, you need to protect that as well and set a good example. And until it gets cleaned up, it's not going to change. And I'm not. We'll see what the fallout is from the recent trials and different things. But we're at a real crossroads, and we've got. We've got a little black eye here, and it's unfortunate because college basketball as a whole, I think, does a lot of good for a lot of people.
And when you're out doing it the right way, like you guys do, and I know that you do, always been a stand-up person, is that do you see that people are now more gravitating and appreciating that more when you're going to these homes and you're talking to parents or you're talking to kids?
Well, yeah, I think you've always seen that. There's always been kind of a divide. And it's something that you can get a feel for very early on in the recruiting process. And, each experience is different. Each kid you recruit, the people around them are different. And we're talking about a very small percentage. This is not, but you are talking about some of the top guys that represent your product, in college basketball. So it's always something that you've been aware of. You can kind of navigate your way through it. And it's like anything else. And in any industry that you're in, any job, you got choices every day. You got choices to do things the right way, or you can cut corners. And I've been very fortunate that I haven't been put in too many positions where, that stuff has come up. I've been able to recognize things pretty much on the front end and been able to steer clear of that stuff.
I know this is a stupid question, and things have to work out the way they work out, and they don't always do that. But if the opportunity came up and there was an interest from IU, would that ever be a possibility for you?
I mean, Jim, I've been at UCLA for 2 days. I'm excited to be here. Obviously,
and I didn't mean anything present.
Yeah. I think Indiana basketball, Jim, is always it's a huge part of who I am. It's a major part of why I'm at UCLA. It's provided me with so much. It means so much to me. I just take each opportunity that comes my way, and I evaluate it at that particular time, and just go from there. And it's worked out for me this far in my career, and I'm excited about the opportunity here at UCLA.
How was In-N-Out Burger?
It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. You hear about it, you read about it, and so I took a little walk down there last night to see what the big deal was, and it's not bad. It's not. I mean, it's a fast food burger and fries, but it's pretty good.
I'll be honest with you. I did the same thing when I was out there. I love coming to LA. It's one of my favorite places to visit. But I'm a Whataburger man guy. I love the fries and all that, but it was all right. But I'm a Whataburger guy.
I've lived in Texas. I've had the Whataburger. I've experienced it all. It's like anything. When you get to a level of good, it's just good. It's a fast food burger. It's pretty good. I enjoyed it last night, and by the line at the drive-through that I walked past, there was probably 20 cars in the drive-through. I think they're doing okay out here.
Yeah, that's the one thing that did amaze me. The place I was at that time, they were around the block for the drive-through. Yeah. I'm like, okay, this must be incredible.
I'm like any other guy. Like, I like me a good fast food cheeseburger, but I'm not sitting in a drive-through line for 20-25 minutes for a burger.
No, either.
I'm not doing that.
Hey, my good friend Kevin Brockway from CNHI Papers joins us a lot, and he's the guy. He covered you when you were at the Sea Dragons in Florida?
Oh yeah, down in Fort Myers. Yeah. Tell Kevin I said hello. He was great. I spent a little time really right after I graduated Indiana. Even before graduation, I went down there. I was actually done with school, and it's kind of like a little. At that time, it was a small summer league, kind of bridged the college season before the some of the NBA summer leagues were going, and I went down there and played for a couple months, and had a blast. Lived on the beach and hung out, and Kevin was there. So tell Kevin I said hello.
We'll do that. So you're back to the beach, man. When you were a Sea Dragon, can you imagine one day you'd be rubbing shoulders with Bill Walton on the UCLA campus?
You always have a dream picture of where you may end up, and you never really know steps that you have to take to kind of get to where your dream is. And I feel very fortunate, obviously, to be, sitting here at UCLA and the opportunity to coach here, like I've said, and I'm just going to approach this like I've done everything else. I'm going to try to do my job to the best of my abilities, and we'll see where it leads.
I know former Indiana basketball player Steve Risley lives out there, and he was disappointed when Steve Alford was let go because he got to go down to the UCLA games and whatnot. So I'm sure he's really ecstatic. If he hasn't reached out to you yet, he probably will be.
Well, he sent me something on Twitter, yesterday, and that's the one thing, man. My phone is, I haven't been able to get back to everybody, but he reached out on Twitter, said some nice things, and so I'm sure we'll hook up, and Steve he's still welcome in Poly. I'll take care of him.
Well, I'm gonna get Leary, and we're gonna come out one time and visit you. I can't wait.
Well, come on, man.
I got a quick Bill Walton story for you so you can get prepared if you ever go to lunch with him. I was working as a youngster for CBS Sports during the NCAA tournament one year, and I was the runner. Just go do whatever they needed, and then go get lunch one day. And you got Quinn Buckner, former IU guys. Hey, give me a grilled chicken sandwich, this, that, and the other thing. And everybody's along the same lines. Of course, Bill Walton says, Jim, can you find me a tofu burger? Yada yada. I'm like, I was in Louisville, and I'm like, man, I said, I'll try, but I'm in Louisville. And I ended up finding one for him, but he was a pretty amazing character.
Yeah, I don't know if I can get into all those things, but, I am who I am, Jim. I'm a Southern Indiana guy, and I'm excited about this opportunity. And I don't think I think there's a few things out here I'm not sure I'll ever be able to adjust to, but really looking forward to the experience and excited to be out here.
I meet you. I'm looking forward to having a beer with you on the veranda at French Lick sometime again.
Let's do it. They taste pretty good there.
Yes, sir. I cannot be happier for you. I'm so happy for you and your family. It's an amazing opportunity for you, and just couldn't have happened to a greater guy.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I really do.
Michael, we appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. Good luck. I hope you guys kill it out there. We'll be following UCLA, and good luck in everything you do.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks.
That's going to wrap up this segment with Michael Lewis. Thanks you so much from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. We'll be back with more Indiana Sports Beat right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is A.J. Moyer.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us research program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
You're on the line with Jamal Meeks, former Indiana Hoosier, number 23, 1992, and I'm on the beat.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat. Thanks a lot for taking us along wherever you're going, whatever you may be doing. We appreciate you taking Indiana Sports Beat along for the ride. And we could not be any prouder or excited to welcome Lily King. Lily, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, absolutely. No problem.
Obviously, anybody who knows anything about Indiana University or sports in general knows who Lily King is now. First of all, what is that like going from being a little girl from Evansville to the world knowing who Lily King is?
It was kind of weird at first. You know, it's kind of what I always wanted to happen. You know, you're a little kid, you always want to be famous. But it was strange when it happened just because it was so sudden for me. It was really quite overnight that I guess acquired this fame that I now have. But yeah, I mean, it's cool. I roll with it, and I'm not too famous. I still can blend in with the crowd, so it's not too bad.
When did the thought of the Olympic dream become a reality? This is something I can possibly do. When did that first set in with you?
I was probably about 16. I had just won junior nationals, and I broke the national age group record, which was essentially the American record for the 16 and under age group. And I think that was kind of the moment I realized that, hey, like maybe, you know, I swam faster than all the other people did before me, so maybe I can make the Olympic team. So it was pretty early on, I'd say.
And how does a girl from Evansville, Indiana, become an internationally recognized face, a gold medalist at 19? You were 19, and I'm looking at that going, today, I don't know that I can handle that.
Yeah, I worked my butt off, and just, my mindset was just keep beating the next person, and then, luckily I ran out of people, so, yeah.
Well, speaking of running out of people, what's it like replacing Don Mattingly as the most famous person from Evansville?
I wouldn't say I'm more famous than Don Mattingly, but if people are saying that, I guess that's pretty satisfying.
When did the Olympic dream go from not just a dream to becoming a reality? When you do realize, hey, I am in this and I have a legit shot here. Yeah,
I think it was probably the morning of my prelim race at the Olympics. Actually, I was surprisingly calm. Going into trials and even at trials and before we got to the Olympics, I was like, okay, it's fine. Like, I'm supposed to be here. It's just another swim meet. And then I think the morning of my prelim race of the 100 breaststroke, I kind of was like, oh God, wait, I'm at the Olympics. Like, this is real. But it hit me real late.
How do you deal with nerves at such a stage? We're not talking about just some meet at Evansville High School, Wrights, or Memorial, or wherever. This is the stage. There's no bigger stage in the world ever. How do you deal with nerves in a situation like that?
I really just thrive on the pressure. So if I'm nervous, that's good. Probably the more nerves I have or the more pressure that's on, the better I'm going to swim. So I definitely thrive in those pressure-filled situations.
You become this instant sensation with your success at Rio, with your confidence that you just talked about, even though I guess you used your nerves to use that confidence, but also the finger wag and all of that. And all that stuff just comes full circle with all that attention. Were you expecting that, ready for that?
I wasn't ever even planning on I guess speaking out against doping. But it all kind of happened, and I don't quite think I realized the magnitude of it until I probably got home from the Olympics. Because when you're at the Olympics, you're kind of you're very sheltered, and you kind of just do your normal routine. You swim, you go back and eat, and then you sleep, then you go back and swim. So I don't think I quite realized that everybody knew what I did at the moment. It was honestly, it was crazy.
And it had nothing to do with bravado or any of that. It was all about the thing you just talked about. It was about doping. And I know that is a very, very important thing to you. Talk about the importance of that.
Yeah, it's so sad that I even have to say that, we have to take a stand against doping, because why should I? It should be real, that cheating is bad. Like, why do I have to say that? But I think a lot of people are kind of afraid about the consequences of what they might do if they speak out, take a stance on something. But that's just not me. So I thought I was wrong, so I said something, and here we are.
And becoming as successful as you did, winning gold medals, does that become a responsibility, an unwanted but a necessary responsibility of those of you in the sport who succeed to be that person that holds that torch against the anti-doping? Yeah,
definitely. The people who are on top have the voice, and people listen to us. We have the platform. So, I've experienced it firsthand, being beaten by a doper, and I've had friends who have missed out on Olympic finals, friends who have, missed out on medals. And when you're a professional athlete, that's your livelihood. And if people aren't, doing it the right way, it can really, really ruin some people's lives. So, it's just sad to see that it's still happening, but if I need to be the person to say something, I will be.
Will it ever get better?
I hope so. A couple months ago, I actually went to DC to go to this White House anti-doping summit, which was pretty cool to see. We just had a lot of representatives from delegations around the world, anti-doping representatives and athlete representatives from several countries. When we kind of got together and spoke about, what's wrong, like what can we fix about, doping right now and with the World Anti-Doping Agency. So it was pretty cool to see that come together, and hopefully we can get something done.
And we talked about, going from a girl in Evansville to the grand stage of the Olympics. Now we're talking about the White House. Yeah. Does it continue to say, wait a minute, is this really happening?
That one was crazy to me. I got a text like, hey, you want to come to the White House for this thing? I'm like, wait, what? Like, you don't just get invited to the White House, So presenting that to my coaches was interesting. Hey, can I miss practice tomorrow? Where do you go? I'm going to the White House. Oh, wait, what? But yeah, it's still crazy to see the things that I'm able to do because of my athletic status. So it's pretty fun.
Talk about going to the White House. What was the most surreal or the coolest thing about being in the White House? You're a normal American like the rest of us, but you're not normal because you're invited into the White House.
Yeah, that's the second time I've been there. So first time I went, we actually, got to meet President Obama, and they invite the whole big team. So that was it's incredible. Just like, I'm a total history junkie. So like, I'm walking around, I'm like, do you know who stood here? Like, do you know what that is? So just like being in the White House is just so cool in general. And then you get to meet the president on top of that. So that's just even crazier. But yeah, it's pretty wild.
And you talk about being a history buff. You could have gone pro instantly and took the dollars and gone on, but you didn't. You came back to school to Indiana University. It seemed like that was pretty important to you.
Yeah, definitely. At the time, swimmers weren't really going pro before they finished their eligibility. So I figured, I might as well stick around and get my degree because there's absolutely no way I would have finished school if I had gone pro. I just never would have gone back. So I think that was a big thing for me was, getting my degree and finishing school. And I also signed on to swim for IU for 4 years, and I didn't want to, take that away from my coaches and my team. So finishing out my season, my eligibility was pretty important to me.
If you look at a lot of other sports, most athletes don't have that take that I signed on for 4 years. I mean, that's refreshing, and it's a throwback to hearing an athlete say that. But how proud are you that you are in that ilk?
It's cool, and swimming is different because I'm still here. I'm still training with the team, and I will be for the next for however long I'm here, 4 years or whatever. But it's cool to see, and I'm proud of myself for being able to stay for 4 years and not being greedy and saying, oh, I can just go take the money, because that's not why I'm in the sport. That's not what it's about.
You talked about staying and how important that is, and stay you did. 8 NCAA championships, and more importantly, a Big Ten championship for Indiana, the first in 7 years. Mm-hmm. Talk about the importance of that to you.
Really this year was just kind of the icing on the cake for me. In terms of not going pro, I wanted to go 8 for 8. No one had ever done that before, in my event. So that was really important to me. And then to win the conference title was it was so cool. But I was actually, this is actually really kind of funny. I was looking back at the points, and they would have won if I hadn't even scored. So, so really they didn't even need me. But it was just an experience like I never had before. I've never been on a winning team of any sort, club team, high school. We very rarely win dual meets even here. So, to see the girls pull out the win and do it at home was pretty cool.
Well, maybe you did affect them, whether they needed your points or not. Maybe it's because they knew Lily King was in the water that they didn't. They're just like, hey, why are we even showing up here?
I don't know. Maybe.
and talk about history again. You've sewn yourself into the fabric of Indiana's athletic history, period. Not just swimming, but their Olympic history, and they have some great history. Some guy named Mark Spitz did kind of well here a long time ago.
Yeah, definitely. Fun fact, Mark Spitz and I have the same birthday. So 1, I'll never be the most famous swimmer with my birthday, and 2, I'll never be the most famous swimmer from Indiana, or most successful with my birthday. So that's kind of crazy. But
well, you're kind of on the same par right there, and it's pretty amazing.
We're both up on the wall at the pool now, which is pretty cool to see, just because, that's something I never even thought of when I was a little kid, was my face being on the wall here.
How often do you see your gold medals?
Not often. I pull them out when I need them for an event or something, but they kind of hide in my closet usually.
And when you do that, when you say, I've got an event, they want me to bring the medal, so you go get those. But when you pull those back out and look at that and see the hard work, the being clean, being a clean athlete, competing against doping athletes and all that went with all that, what does that mean to you, just to sit there and by yourself in your room, maybe your old bedroom at home, and you pull them out of the closet and you look at that? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, it's wild. Honestly, I'm amazed at how heavy they are most of the time. They're so heavy, it's insane. But yeah, it's kind of cool just to sit back and be like, hey, you actually did it. But yeah,
kind of cool.
I'm not usually the reflective type, so they usually just stay in the closet.
You go back now for another Olympics in 2020 in Tokyo. What haven't you achieved? That's a great question. What haven't you achieved that you want to achieve?
I don't have the world record yet in the 200 breaststroke, and I don't have an Olympic medal yet in the 200 breaststroke. So that's about all that's left for me. So we'll see.
Who are your inspirations, your idols, your heroes in sports? It didn't have to be swimming, but in swimming or whatever it was that really inspired you to do what you've done.
Yeah, I'd say early on it was Janet Evans, hands down, Janet Evans. She did a clinic in Mount Vernon when I was very young. I was probably 8. I was the slowest kid at camp, but I thought it was the greatest thing ever. I thought she was so cool. But yeah, she was definitely the one who I'd say inspired me to swim the most, and she's the one I wanted to be like. So.
Have you met her?
Yeah, actually, she called me. She got word somehow that I was obsessed with her, before the Olympics.
Okay, so when Janet Evans, your hero, calls you First of all, what happens in that second when you realize that Janet Evans is calling me?
One, I didn't recognize the number, so I let it ring. Two, she leaves a message. She's like, hey, it's Janet. And I called my mom, before I called her back, called my mom, and I was actually like crying. I was like, Mom, like this, and I'm not like an emotional person, but in that one moment I was like, Janet Evans just called me, like, what do I do? But yeah, and then, eventually I met her, and she's the coolest person ever, and her daughter swims breaststroke, so that's always fun, get to talk to her and her daughter, and it's cool now that, like, to think she's kind of like my friend.
Any chance you're going to be tutoring Janet Evans' daughter in the breaststroke?
I don't know. She's pretty speedy. She might be able to teach me a few things, so I don't know.
Well, the 2020 Olympics come up next, Tokyo, your next endeavor. What are you looking forward to, and how do you approach that now as someone who is a veteran, an Olympic champion? Yeah. It's a lot different than going there as a 19-year-old. You're a veteran now.
Yeah, I've just had so much more experience since then. I always say it was like, who let me go to the Olympics? But just kind of, I guess knowing what to do a little bit more. Like, I'm probably not going to be standing in line at McDonald's every session like I was in Rio, or walking around the village in the middle of the night because it's cool and it's fun. And I'd say probably just taking things a little more seriously than I did before.
Lily, you're going back to Tokyo, to the Olympics of 2020. What are your goals there? You talked about you don't have some world records. Is that your goal, or just do you want to win gold medals in events you don't have yet, or just have fun and be an Olympian?
Yeah, winning is fun. So I'd say, I'm definitely going to have some fun. But I have an opportunity to win 4 gold medals, so I think that's the ultimate goal. It's pretty hard to set world records at the Olympics just because it's very unpredictable, I'd say. It's not like a World Championships where you're staying in a hotel and, you don't really have to walk, but, at the Olympics you're walking probably 5+ miles a day when you're trying to stay off your feet, and you don't really know what the food's going to be, and you don't know how traffic's going to be getting to the pool, so there are just a lot of unknowns at the Olympics, so if I could set a world record, that'd be great, but if not, I totally understand because of the circumstances, so shooting for 4 gold medals, though.
Are you expecting to have renewed rivalries with any particular people from any certain countries, like Russia or Singapore? Soviet Union, rather?
Probably. I wouldn't say that the rivalry isn't going to pick back up. It's the best rivalry in swimming, so might as well.
The best rivalries in sports.
Definitely.
Certainly got the ratings.
Oh, yeah, definitely. You know me, I'm all about the ratings.
And what was that like to, again, I keep going back to this, but it's so much. You're at the Olympics now. You got NBC or whomever, Bob Costas, and all these people that you probably grew up seeing on TV, and like, this dude's talking to me? Yeah. What's that like for you?
It's weird. It's really weird. This is going to sound strange. It's weird hearing them say your name. It was just crazy. Like, I actually got in trouble the morning after I won, or 2 mornings after I went on Mike and Mike really early in the morning, and I was supposed to sleep in, and I got in huge trouble with my coaches because I did Mike and Mike, and I was like, I had to do it. Like, I couldn't just not do Mike and Mike. Like, they asked me to come on. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy.
What's next for you after the Olympics? After these next Olympics in Tokyo, is your competing done there, or what's next for Lily King?
I'd say tentative end date for me is probably 2024. I'm shooting for Paris, and after that, I think I'm gonna hang it up. So we still got a while though. After that, I'm not totally sure. I do definitely want to stay in the swimming world and maybe do something for UC Swimming or run clinics. Eventually, I do want to get into teaching. I'm student teaching right now, so eventually, hopefully, I'll end up being a teacher at some point.
Okay, now you're student teaching. Where are you student teaching?
I'm at Bachelor Middle School right now.
Let's give them a shout out.
Yeah, go Bulldogs.
So here's Lily King. What grade is it?
7th and 8th.
Okay, that's old enough that they're cognizant of who people are and what they have done. All right, I'm a 7th or I'm an 8th grader, and I'm sitting there, and an Olympic gold medalist comes in, and this is my teacher. Mm-hmm. That's got to be, they're in your position now. They're looking at you going like, what? Really? Huh? What's that like for you, having those faces look back at you as you were looking back at some of these other people?
Yeah, it's cool. Honestly, they don't care. Like, they're 14. They got other things to worry about than their student teacher being an Olympian. Some of the kids are into it, and some of them are like, they couldn't care less. So it's fun. my 6th period is like way more into me being an Olympian than all the rest of my classes are. So it really just depends on the kids. And, I think I still get treated like any other student teacher out there. So, but yeah, it's fun being in charge and not being the student for once.
What's the legacy you want to leave to Indiana? The legacy you want to leave as just an Olympic champion?
Obviously legacy is, my world records or these times that are untouchable. I want to swim times that are untouchable. But I want people to remember that I, stood up for what I believed in and, I just spoke my mind and I was myself. And I'd say that's definitely what I'm most proud of.
And do you want that to inspire other girls, or it doesn't have to be girls, but other girls to achieve the dreams that you chased and succeeded and caught?
Yeah, definitely. There are a lot of people out there that are like me that are, loud, sometimes obnoxious, a little cocky, and that's okay. I think a lot of times that's discouraged and that's considered unsportsmanlike, but that's sport. That's what it is, and I think it should be encouraged, and I think a lot of times it's not, which is kind of sad to me. But yeah, that's definitely a legacy I would like to leave behind.
Lily King, I cannot thank you enough. It's an honor for us to have you here. Congratulations on all your success, and good luck in all your future success that I know you'll be having.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. The great Lily King, 2-time Olympic gold medalist so far, until she adds to that in Tokyo, and then again in Paris, as we learned in that interview. So I cannot thank Lily King enough. And Scott, thank you for your help getting that done. We're also appreciative. What a personality, man. She is electric, but just the most down-to-earth person you're going to encounter. She was just a normal person. So cool, and just a great personality, but a competitor, man. A competitor. We got a lot more coming up on the program here on Indiana Sports Beat. Lily King brought to you by our good friends at Reynolds Family Dentistry. So again, thank you for all of our great sponsors for allowing us to bring you the great content that we're able to do so. But lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Back right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become one in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by
This hour is
Common
brought
Ground
to you by
Alliance.
Sweetland Waste and Removal Service, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along.
And welcome to Indiana Sports Speed, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Happy 4th of July to everybody. Snakes and sparklers, snakes and sparklers. Hope everybody has a good start to their July 4th holiday, and most of you are probably off. Congratulations. I hope it's a good day for you. Get a lot of rest and relaxation. Hope the weather's great wherever you are, and everybody gets to have a lot of fun today. We've got a lot of great show on tap. Scott Agness from The Athletic is going to join us. A lot going on in his world. The Pacers doing a lot. There's a lot of action in regards to Indiana players in the NBA. Some have signed new contracts. Some are hoping to get a new contract. Hint, hint, Yogi Ferrell. Kevin Brockway, the IU beat writer from CNHI newspapers, will join us as well. A lot to talk about. Kevin's got a story. We met with, we've been meeting with the freshman football players from IU for the last couple of weeks, but Tywan Mullen was one of those guys we were lucky enough to meet with a couple of weeks ago, and he'd said something about his mother being an athlete, and their family is just a family of incredible high-level elite athletes, man. His brother in the NFL, his cousin is Lamar Jackson. So looking forward to talking about that, but a lot to talk about with those guys as well. Also, yesterday, the ladies did it. The United States women's national team will meet the Netherlands in the World Cup final on Sunday at 3 o'clock after the Netherlands defeat Sweden 1-0 yesterday. And a game wasn't a lot of excitement in that game. Of course, it wasn't that big. It's not the U.S., so I guess it wasn't as exciting. But it should be a great time on Sunday as the women go for another gold medal for themselves. We wish them well. It'll be, man, I guarantee you that game will draw a ton of interest. I was reading something about Nike's jersey sales of the women's national team and how they are breaking records. They are the biggest selling soccer jerseys of all time for Nike, and I mean man or woman, it doesn't matter. And I talked about this yesterday because the women make less than the men in World Cup, which to me is completely ridiculous. In most sports, I get it because it has to be there. It has to be generated to pay. The WNBA is not going to make the same money as the guys in the NBA. Obvious reasons. TV rights, bigger crowds, yada, yada. It goes on and on and on. But in this case, it's the opposite. The women are the one that's making the money. They're the ones that turn in the profit for the U.S. Soccer program. It's the women. It's the women that are having the success. It's the women that are drawing the TV ratings. It's the women that are selling the jerseys. And the women should be making not the same money. The women shouldn't be making the same money as men. They should be making more. They're doing more. So it's just that's kind of goofy. I don't get that. That's completely. That is sexist. That is completely sexist. It's ridiculous. They got to fix that, man. Ridiculous. The Pacers, they continue doing stuff, man. We're going to talk about that with Scott Agness, like I said. But, man, they have 3 TJs now. You got TJ Leaf, they got TJ Warren, and now they've signed TJ McConnell. Just signed him to a $7 million 2-year deal, so good for him. A little bit of sad news. Former Kentucky quarterback and New York Giants quarterback Jared Lorenzen passed away. He had a health battle, but he was only 38 years old. Man, hefty lefty. Dude was big. He was 300 pounds, but he was Kentucky's all-time leading passer. It's crazy. That guy was so big, but dude was he was a different cat, man. He was kind of fun to watch. But our thoughts and prayers out to his family. That's just a sad deal, and hate that to happen. Also in the news, NCAA. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, but they hit UConn with some penalties. But Kevin Ali is the guy who he got hit harder than UConn did, and. Is this a sign that the NCAA is metering out punishment in a different way now? I mean, they're hitting the coach here harder than they are the school because the coach is the one that was doing it. Rightly so, but it's kind of a first for them to do something that makes sense. I'm just a little surprised. He was hit with a 3-year show cause stipulation, meaning that if any school wants to hire him in the next 3 years, they can be hit with penalties from the NCAA and put under immense scrutiny. I.e., ain't nobody going to be hiring Kevin Ali in the NCAA in the next 3 years. That's for certain. He's probably headed to NBA or one of the other leagues. There's 1,000 leagues now, so getting a job is not going to be an issue for him. But we'll see how now we got a lot more coming up with that. With this investigation stuff that's going on. So we'll see how that turns out. There's a lot of coaches' names that are hanging out there. Bill Self, Sean Miller, dude down at LSU, man, Will Wade. Well, we'll see if it carries over, and how that has any lingering effects. But I think that does the NCAA finally realize that people are fed up with their ridiculousness and are actually going to do something that makes sense? That would be a shock. We'll see about that. Indiana football made a new offer yesterday to a lineman out of Missouri. Big dude, too. And by big, I mean big. He's 6'7", 291 pounds, man. From Monroe Mills. Oh, that's Monroe Mills is his name, rather. He's from Columbia, Missouri. Matt Weaver had a deal in there about him yesterday. He talked to him, said, it means a lot to me, he said, about the IU offer. I've had a lot of interest in Indiana since I started my recruitment. I've visited them a few times, and I love the campus and the business school. They have many things I want from a school, and they are very strong with me. Well, that's a pretty resounding endorsement, unless some big-time program comes swooping in. He's a 3-star, but, dude, what a big guy. Wow. That would be some beef. Indiana needs to improve that offense, continue to improve that offensive line. We talked about that yesterday with Matt. The offensive line being the linchpin of what can be this year. They have an offense. There's no doubt about that. Indiana has an offense. they can have a prolific offense. But it's all going to be based on this offensive line. Now, this guy's for next year, so has nothing to do with that. But hopefully they are sound there. It's going to be very interesting, and because, I don't know what the limit is. If that offensive line is solid for Indiana this year, I'm not sure what their limits are, man. This is a pretty good offensive unit they got coming back, and looking forward to seeing it. Absolutely looking forward to seeing it. Hey, also a big deal in the news, and being July 4th, appropriate time to talk about it. The deal with Colin Kaepernick, Nike, and the shoes with the old American flag on it, kicking them out because he claims that the American flag, the old American flag, was connected to whatever the issues that he's complaining about now. Doesn't even matter. I don't care. It was the American flag. No, it's not. It was used. It's claiming it was being used as a symbol for white suppressionists. No, it's the American flag. You can't let people steal the American flag, and it was the American flag at that time. So just because even if some moronic group used it, you can't steal and hijack the American flag. It's the American flag. And then you can't allow a minority, a small group, ill-informed, make claims that are kind of off the wall. I saw a post yesterday. Someone ran a poll asking, did you have any idea that that American flag was linked to the white suppressionists and all the things that Colin Kaepernick was complaining about? 90% no. I had no. I'm like, what are you talking about? No. It's just ridiculous because that was the flag at the time. But for Nike to bend to that on something like that, this is the same American flag that also you saw post yesterday of people showing a picture of Obama's 2015 the inauguration in 2015. If you look behind him, there were flags hanging, on American flags, and on each end was this American flag. So it was okay then. It was okay for the first African American president of the United States, but it's not okay for tennis shoes. Which I don't know that flag should be on tennis shoes, but if it was being done in a way to honor Betsy Ross, apparently, that would have been fine. But and so now you're letting this ill-informed BS override Betsy Ross and the American flag. I don't get that. I don't. I really don't. This is PC gone crazy, man. PC gone wild. That's my get off my lawn deal for today. But I think it's appropriate. It's July 4th. I mean, I'm tired of it. It's enough, man. It's enough, guys. Just let it be. It's like the deal with the U.S. women's national team. You had there's an issue with some people, mostly British people, complaining about Alex Morgan and after her goal, she did the little mimic drinking tea, which is kind of funny. And I said yesterday, I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of torn because I'm like, act like you've been there, but I'm like, is it that big of a deal? But I do notice this: the American women, I think, are one of the only ones that I've seen do it much, but part of it's bravado, and part of it's the stick, man. I think part of that gets in the heads of the opponents, though. So, whatever. It's a different society, so it doesn't really matter. But it's curious that most Americans, they don't care. They're cool with it. So, yeah, things have different society, but if a man was doing that, I don't think a word would be said. I really don't. They'd be talked about in some form or fashion, I'm sure, but I just don't think that anything would be said about Britain complained that they were being mocked or whatever. Oh, come on, cry me a river. Piers Morgan was the one doing a lot of complaining. Of course, a lot of complaining to be done when you're losing. Congratulations to the women. They will be playing on Sunday, like I said, 3 p.m. for the World Cup Championship. Pretty cool. Pretty cool for them. Pretty cool. Hope you're going to have a great 4th of July. Snakes and sparklers, snakes and sparklers. That's my Joe Dierte reference. I'm sure I'll see if anybody gets that today, Jake. I'm going to see if anybody catches on. I love to watch these obscure movies and throw these lines out. Justin didn't watch movies at all. It almost wasn't any fun anymore because he just didn't watch movies, so I couldn't offer any challenge up to that. But on the program today, we're going to be talking with Scot Agness from The Athletic. There has been a ton going on this week in NBA free agency. The Pacers have had a roster overhaul. A lot of players are gone. New players in. TJ 3, now with 3 TJs, but we'll talk about all of that. And we'll also talk about some of the Indiana guys that are in the league. Thomas Bryant got him a fat new contract. He got paid nicely, handsomely, really handsomely. $25 million, thank you very much. Noah Vonleh, he got him a new deal. 1-year deal there, though. Yogi Ferrell is in peril. No pun intended. He's got an option that needs to be picked up by today by the Sacramento Kings, and they just signed another point guard. Interesting to see where that's going to go. We'll find out. Hey, stay tuned. We got lots more coming up here from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, a special July 4th edition. I'm Jim Coyle. We'll be right back.
I remember not too long ago, I went to a theater and I saw the Kool in a Gang show. I always wanted.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become one in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
This is former Indiana basketball player Brian Evans, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
Oh, get down, turn around, go to town, boogie.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat, of course, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Joined now by our good friend Scot Agness from The Athletic. Scott, how are you, brother? How's the week been?
Good morning, Jim. It's been a busy one, man. Nonstop, it feels like, really since going back to the weekend, June 30th, when really things started settling in a little bit for free agency.
Yeah, what a crazy free agency period for an Indiana NBA. I know there was, a 6-hour period where $3 billion was basically contracted? I think you may have posted that, but somebody did anyway.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think more than 10 players received $100 million or more in guarantees.
Is that just the absolute craziest thing? I mean, think about sports 20 years ago, but and I know everything changes, but my gosh, these numbers are just unbelievably astronomical.
Oh, completely. I mean, the salary cap in the 90s was like 15, 20, 25 million. Now a second or third best player on a team, on an average team, not one of the stacked teams, they're making about 22, 23 million by themselves. That's how much it's changed.
Yeah, the one question I have, with these numbers being so crazy inflated, does that just simply mean the fans are paying too much for their entertainment?
No, I think it just means there's more of a money pool, a greater money pool. There's, for example, money coming in for streaming rights in China. There's streaming rights in Africa. It's become a worldwide game. On top of it, the biggest number in all this, Jim, of course, is the numbers coming in from ESPN, ABC, and then TNT, where they pay billions a year annually in order to broadcast the games. That's where the primary revenue source is. And then, of course, attendance and everything else.
Yeah, crazy. It's nuts. Talking about free agency, the Pacers, they had to make some moves, and they did. Most people seem to be kind of happy with what they pulled off.
Yes, it was an active free agency period so far, about 4 days in now here. And on that first moment, they thought they were all in on Bojan Bogdanovic, but then Utah, because of circumstances, Nikola Mirotic, who they were after, decided to stay in Spain. Then they changed their tune talking about Utah, went after Bojan, and offered far more than the Pacers were comfortable in doing so. And so at the last minute, I'm talking like in a 20, 30-minute time period, the Pacers pivoted and agreed to a sign-and-trade deal with Milwaukee Bucks for Malcolm Brogdon. And one big thing, Jim, we've seen from the Pacers is they've gotten much younger, as a lot of their players that moved on to new situations were already over 30. Now 27 is the oldest player, and that's Victor Oladipo. So they've gotten younger, and then they've also gotten players that can play multiple positions and really be interchangeable parts. So, for example, you could see Miles Turner play the 4 or the 5. You could see Malcolm Brogdon play the 1 or the 2. you could see Jeremy Lamb play the 2 or the 3, or TJ Warren the 3 or the 4. So it's a makeshift lineups that they can play. And also, a lot of it, they've added scoring and playmakers, we think, because, of course, that's what they need in the meantime while Victor remains out due to that injury rehab.
One of the most astounding stats I've seen in a while on Brogdon, the 50-40-90 stat. There's only 8 guys in the history of the NBA that's had a 50-40-90 season. 50% from the field, 40% behind the arc, 90% at the free throw line. The names, the 7 names that precede his name is mind-boggling. We're talking Larry Bird, Reggie Miller. I can't even remember all of them. I remember reading. It was incredible. But those 7, I think they're all Hall of Famers.
Steve Nash, Steph Curry. Yeah. Reggie Miller and Larry Bird, two with Pacer connections among that group of just 8. And, of course, that's a remarkable thing. And you also saw Brogdon be the leading efficiency player at the free throw line last year, where I think he shot better than 93%. So he's very reliable when they go to the line. That's great.
There are several teams that made several changes. There are several teams that are now considered possibly a front runner for the NBA title next year. You got the Lakers. Man, they've made a lot of changes. The Warriors, which you don't know which direction they're going to end up going because Durant's going to Brooklyn. It's nuts right now the way these teams, the future, their forecast for a lot of these teams have either gone up like a rocket or down to the toilet just that quick with a personnel change.
Yeah, things have been pretty wide open now after the Warriors lost Kevin Durant, and then Klay Thompson, of course, going to miss much of the year due to injury. But the everything kind of hinging on Kawhi Leonard at this point. But before that, you got big changes coming in Brooklyn. We saw with them getting DeAndre Jordan, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant. And then I really have been impressed with what we've seen in Utah as Mike Conley Jr., the Indy native. He's off there. They got Bojan Bogdanovic, Jeff Green, a nice value play. But there's been all kinds of turnover in the league, and that was expected with more than 45% of the league seeking new contracts.
And you bring up Mike Conley. What a career that dude's had. What is he like, 17, 18 years in the league now?
Yeah, he's been outstanding, just reliable as they come.
What an incredible career. Unfortunately, his running mate, Greg Oden, didn't have anything quite like that, but wow, what a great length of career for him. The Summer League in action now. As a matter of fact, I've been watching as much as I can. Juwan Morgan finally got some action in a game, I think, the day before yesterday with Utah. Didn't score, but had a few rebounds, had a couple assists, played okay.
Yeah, so that's one of 3 summer leagues that will go on. That's the California. That was the Utah Summer League you were referencing. With him playing for Utah. There's also a California Summer League. And then beginning on Friday is the Primary League. It's the one where all 30 teams compete in Vegas. And I'll be out there this weekend and for a week or so to track the Pacers and talk with a lot of people out there. And it really is the central of the basketball universe this month. Then it kind of becomes Los Angeles for the final 2 months entering the season. But it's a fun time to really try to see, number one, how the draft picks, those top guys look. Guys like Zion Williamson. I don't think Ja Morant is playing, and that's notable because the Pacers face Memphis in the opening game of Summer League. Jaren Jackson also not expected to play. Good time to see those draft picks and then maybe find a diamond in the rough on various teams as well.
Yeah, I noticed, man, I was looking for the stats on Juwan after his game. They got like 20 guys on a team.
Something like that, yeah. And you'll see guys drop off, too. For example, a lot of times players will start out on a team, play 2 or 3 games, and then might even move teams if they get signed by another team or get dealt. So it's really interesting times with all this contract situation. And, of course, these contracts, all these deals that we're talking about that have been agreed to, they can't become finalized until Saturday at noon. That's when they put pen to paper at the earliest.
You've seen a lot of action with former Indiana players. Thomas Bryant signs a nice fat contract. Noah
Very
Vonleh,
nice, yeah.
Yeah, I'll take it. Noah Vonleh got him a 1-year deal. Some Hoosier players getting paid.
Yeah, I was quite surprised actually to see the type of money that Thomas Bryant was able to get, but he had been a starter for much of the year for the Wizards and earned a much bigger contract. But I think all of us were a little bit surprised at the number that came in for him at, $25 million.
Man, what a big, rugged player. Boy, Indiana could sure use a guy like that right now.
Yeah, couldn't they? Just a big that can really contribute a lot. And Thomas is he's really worked on expanding his game and knocking down that three-point shot with more frequency. A shot he never really looked for a ton, more than 1 or 2 attempts per game at IU, I don't think.
Well, luckily he didn't have to. He had plenty of good shooting around him on that team. But
that's not the case right now with the current Hoosier team.
No, not at all. He would probably be as good as anybody on that team right now, shooting threes.
Yeah, from distance at least.
But I also saw Romeo Langford there working out. They tried to work on the hitch in his shot. They had a ping pong paddle taped to his left hand, just getting his offhand off of it. But some very unusual practices trying to get his shot worked out.
Yeah, whatever it takes, and it makes it's a good time, I feel like, to maybe reconstruct the shot as they've clearly deemed necessary. Because remember, that thumb injury. And so trying to work your way back from that, it's as good a time as any to maybe correct it and improve upon it. And I don't think a lot is going to be asked of him a lot this season, Jim. And so this is an opportunity, even if he starts slower, to even though fans never understand those things, to preach to the player, hey, stay with it, be consistent. This will pay off in another year or two, because we've seen players in the past, when they've corrected their shot, a lot of times, not always, it has paid off. Now, we need to see something similar, for example, when Markelle Fultz's shot completely went haywire several years ago, and I bet most people won't even remember where he is, but currently he's in Orlando.
I didn't do a ton of research to see how much cap space that the Pacers had or how much money they had to spend, but I noticed they did not attempt to make a big get in the free agency market. Is it they just don't have the money, or what is the situation with the Pacers?
No, that's not fair at all. In fact, they had money to go get a max guy, and they attempted to. They're just never successful in doing so because, one, the market, and two, I think right now you have the uncertainty regarding who they'd be playing with. The roster completely turned over. Victor's health remains in question, right? And so you look at most of these guys where they moved on to, it was either teams with stars already in the situations or a welcoming place, like Jimmy Butler, who's very to himself, right? He went to Miami. They're not ready to win now, but everyone else, they joined together, or they went to a team that's already successful, like Philadelphia, like a Utah, or Brooklyn, where they teamed up. It's an unfortunate current circumstance, but I think a team like Milwaukee can relate. The only difference is they have one of the best players in the league like Giannis, and so there are people that are willing to sacrifice a little bit. They see how close they are to contending for a title, and so they can be more successful at this current period.
With what the Pacers have done in free agency, and let's say Oladipo's back next December, whenever it happens, but with the players that they have right now, what does this do for them? Does this give them any more? Are they any better? Are they worse? Where are they about the same? Where do you think that they are with the rosters changes that they've made?
Well, couple different ways to answer that. For one, in terms of victories and how it might lead to on the court success next season, I think they're about the same, especially factoring in Oladipo's missed time. But I think in the long term, they're much better off. They've added scoring. They've went younger. And I think they've went with a group that can really grow together. If you notice, a lot of the all the contracts given out were 2- and 3-year deals, meaning they're willing to give them time and a chance to grow together by the time they all reach. Most of them reach 30. Miles is beginning the first year of his 4-year contract. Domas is up for a contract extension. So I think they got much better in the long term. Probably about the same for next year, though, looking maybe at that 4 or 5 seed.
So, in my opinion, are they just another superstar away from being in that upper echelon?
Well, I think for one, they don't have a superstar. I am very specific about superstars, and I'd say that's more like your top 7, top 5 players, and Victor's more the top 15.
Right.
But I think if they added another player similar to Victor, which very well could be Malcolm Brogdon, and then if Miles takes his game to another level, or same holds true for a guy like Domas Sabonis, then maybe you're in business. Then you can really add players again around them to complement them. and you could be talking one of the top 2 seeds in the East. But right now, even those top 2 seeds on paper look to be Giannis in Milwaukee, potentially Toronto, if they bring back the same team, and then what Brooklyn is building, not for this year because KD is out, but for the next 3 or 4 years. That's who you're competing with.
Right on. You got the Kawhi Leonard sweepstakes going on right now, man. I saw yesterday, I was looking at some of the posts. There is stuff of his plane landing, of the vehicle he's in on the interstate. It was like watching the OJ chase back in the day, man. They're really tracking this.
Absolutely. We want answers, Jim. That's the one big holdout that has been to this point, right? And it's kind of, we're at this point now in free agency where after several days, it's a holding pattern until he decides, because a matter of 2 things. You'll have guys that want to go with him, or a guy like Danny Green, for instance. He could stay in Toronto to play with him, and I think that's likely. Or, say if he's in L.A., a guy or 2 might go with him there, or if not, the Clippers, the Lakers, then they have contract space where they have to figure out how they're using it. And so it's a ripple-down effect that leads us to this holding pattern now we've currently been in.
What are you working on, Scott?
Yeah, so I think one interesting story is on the roster for the Pacers is a guy named Jay Henderson. He played for Louisville for 1 year. He was a walk-on. But even better than that is he's been Victor's roommate down in Miami for the last 4 or 5 months. So there's no one better to talk to and get an update on Victor than his roommate, his workout partner, the same guy that he's with every single day. So I touched on Jay's story a little bit, but also wanted him to provide some kind of update on Victor. So that can be read at The Athletic.
The guy was a walk-on for 1 year at U of L?
Started off at St. John's, transferred to Louisville, and played in 11 games his freshman year, and then suddenly kind of just disappeared and had decided not to go overseas. So this is kind of maybe his last final shot at playing competitive basketball.
Great story, man. Make sure you find it on at The Athletic. Scott Agness. Appreciate you, brother, as always.
All right, thanks, Jim. Have a great July 4th, man.
You as well. Happy July 4th to you. Scott Agness from The Athletic joining us as he always does. Hey, we got more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Back with more right after this.
The party's here on the west side, so I reach for my 40 and I turn it up. Designated driver, take the keys to my truck. Hit the shop cause I'm faded. Honey's in the streets, say money, yo, we made it. It feels so good in my hood tonight.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make it tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become one in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
You're on the line with Jamal Meeks, former Indiana Hoosier, number 23, 1992. And I'm on the beat with Jim Coyle.
Today's guest is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, with hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer. Pizza, burgers, beer. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Hey, welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you, of course, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Jim Coyle with you, now joined by our good friend Kevin Brockway, the IUB writer from CNHI Papers. Kevin, how are you today, my man?
Happy 4th. It's a big day, right?
That's right. Light the fire. Snakes and sparklers, man. Snakes and sparklers.
It is. It's always it's that time of year, right? Fireworks and hot dogs and hamburgers and apple pie and all the good stuff to celebrate Americana.
You missed my reference to Joe Dirt, man. It's a Joe Dirt reference. Joe Dirt for you specialists.
Haven't seen that movie. Have not seen that movie.
What?
So
Man.
Wouldn't know. Yeah. I'm missing out, I guess.
Well, it's, July 4th today is a great day to watch it, so go have yourself a Joe Dirt day. But, hey, man, lots going on. It's a busy time. I know the NBA stuff's going nuts with her free agency. I was on with Scot Agness was with us just a little bit ago, and he covers the Pacers, and we talked a lot. Free agency is nuts, but a lot of Indiana guys involved. A lot of Indiana guys getting some new contracts. Thomas Bryant with a nice contract. He got paid with Washington. I saw Noah Vonleh got him a 1-year deal. Now, the one thing we're waiting on is Yogi Ferrell. And I meant to ask Scott this, and I forgot, but he signed last year. He signs a deal with Sacramento. He leaves Dallas. Kind of surprised me. I thought that was a mistake, but now he goes to Sacramento for 1 year. They sign another point guard, and he's got an option of his they have to pick up today. If they don't, I guess he becomes a free agent. I'm not sure how restricted or unrestricted, whatever it is, but he's waiting to see what's going to happen with Yogi Ferrell next.
Yeah, and it's interesting. A lot of those guys obviously were Tom Crean guys, and, I had a chance to, I talked to him on the SEC teleconference last week, and, what's interesting about that was he was discussing Nick Claxton and him getting drafted in the second round out of Georgia, and he brought up, Brian and Vonleh as examples of some big guys he kind of helped develop to get to the next level from Indiana to the NBA, and they're certainly getting paid, and it's always the key. That's always the key is getting that second contract. It's one thing to get the first contract, but if you get that second contract, you're sitting pretty.
Yeah, I haven't gotten that first one yet, so I haven't gotten there, but hopefully, yeah. Yeah, you mentioned the SEC teleconference that you jumped on. You were the guy that asked John Calipari about the Indiana-Kentucky series, and that got a lot of play last week, but it ended up with being the same result. Nothing going on, and I don't see that changing, unfortunately, anytime soon. But, on one hand, I wonder, Indiana wants to play Kentucky. Indiana fans want Kentucky. It's a rivalry to them. They want to play that game, and it should happen because it's a great game for college basketball. They're two of the giants in college basketball. I mean, it's not what it was. You don't have Bob Knight or Adolph Rupp or Joe Hall and those guys going at it, but it doesn't matter. It's just been a tremendous series. I hate to see that thing not happen, but I don't see that coming around anytime soon.
Yeah, well, Calipari told me not within the next 5 years. He doesn't see the way their schedule is. And I think the thing with Kentucky under Cal is that they tried to lock into a lot of these, classic matchups. They've got the Champions Classic with, Duke and Michigan State and Kansas every year. And then they have this CBS Sports Classic with UCLA. And Calipari is big on playing in neutral sites. Now, what's interesting about that is I kind of pressed him during that teleconference, and I asked him, because he had mentioned a few years ago the proposal, which was obviously to play at Lucas Oil Stadium. And I asked him the reluctance to, why the reluctance to play in on-campus sites. And his response is, we have enough home and homes. But if you look at Kentucky's schedule, other than Louisville, they don't really bring much to Rupp Arena. And I think there is a little bit of a backlash from the Kentucky fans about that because he signed up to all these neutral court matchups that, the fans in Lexington at Rupp aren't getting, those kind of matchups. And certainly, signing Indiana to a home and home would help in that regard. So I think it's interesting that, he says he has enough home and homes, but I mean, they're playing Portland State, at home without playing on the road. They're playing those kind of games. They're not necessarily playing, home and home series other than Louisville that I'm aware of that are really of any substance.
I wonder why you can't get a real answer, because that baloney about the fans storming the court, that's a load of crap. That's a one-time thing that happened off emotion. And so if that's what they want to base that on, that they ban Indiana from playing them, well then why wouldn't the officials ban calling Kentucky games when you had the Kentucky fans with death threats against officials? So I just don't buy any of that, and I don't understand. And so I'm not understanding what the real reason might be.
Yeah, I don't know. I do think that's like, the player safety thing, but then, Kentucky fans take things to extreme too. Maybe they don't storm the court, but they do other things. But I think that it's just a myriad of things, but I think that in the final analysis, maybe there is a feeling of Indiana needs Kentucky more than Kentucky needs Indiana.
Well, that's true, but I don't doubt that, seeing that there's truth to that, because Indiana is not the national name that it once was right now. Kentucky is, obviously, and Kentucky doesn't need Indiana. But I would think, for one, the only thing I am surprised that he doesn't, because it would be an opportunity for him to beat Indiana, and he would love to get as many Indiana kids out of the state to play for him as he can. So I'm a little surprised in that regard that he doesn't schedule it. And then you got the fact that he's somewhat friends with Archie Miller and the family.
Yeah, and Bruiser Flynn, obviously, they work together at UMass and so forth. So there are some connections there. But I think and I think the other thing too is, that whole, adding a home game to your schedule on Rupp, that means something, in the non-conference. And, I think that, that's a big thing too, that you could give your fan base in Lexington, Kentucky, a little something more to be excited about. But I don't know, maybe John Calipari doesn't see it that way. Maybe he sees it more, the non-conferences, television, national appeal, these big-time classics against these big-time programs rather than, taking care of his local fan base in Lexington.
Well, one thing I'm sure he sees is the fact that the last 3 games he played against Indiana, he lost 2 of them. So, I know that's not but I'm wondering if there may be some truth there that Indiana's not that big-time national name right now, that he doesn't want to risk losing to them, and he has lost 2 out of the last 3.
Yeah, but a lot. Those were in. Well, one was in non-conference in December, but the other two were in March also. So, and the other two were, pretty good teams that went on to the Sweet 16. I think that you and I would both agree that where Indiana is now compared to where Kentucky is now, Kentucky would certainly be favored if they played in December, regardless of where it was. If it was in Assembly Hall, if it was in, Rupp Arena, if it was on the moon, I think at this point where the programs are, they're two different things. And, the other thing about plucking Indiana kids out, there's another point that I was going to try to make is that, hey, look, they got Keon Brooks without playing Indiana. So they have managed to pluck Indiana kids out. Calipari has, regardless of if he plays them or not.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Indiana lost Brooks more than Kentucky got him, but we'll see about that. A couple weeks ago, we had the opportunity. The Indiana football has been presenting a lot of the new freshmen to the media over the course of the last few weeks. And one of the guys we got to talk to was Tywone Mullen, and we were both talking to him, and he mentioned his mother and a lot of things, and you really took that and ran with it and are doing a story on that, but it sounds like it's going to be a kind of a cool thing.
Yeah, I talked to Lucretia Peterman, who's his mom, and is also, Trayvon Mullen's mom, obviously, who's, was a defensive MVP of the BCS title game for Clemson and his second-round pick of the Oakland Raiders. And they have a younger one coming up on the pike, Terval, who's a sophomore, who just got his first scholarship offer to Oregon, a sophomore in high school, and I'm sure Indiana will come calling too. So, of the four sons, it looks like she's going to have three that are going to go on to football. And the interesting side of the story is that she played football herself for a semi-pro team in Miami. The Miami Furies played quarterback and safety and did a little bit of everything for that team. But she was a single mom, and she has managed to, raise her kids well, to keep them out of trouble in some tough neighborhoods in the Fort Lauderdale, Pompano Beach area, and is really a strong woman. And I think that story will reflect, some of her strength and how she's managed to persevere and get her sons to be successful and on the right path as college athletes.
What a talented family. Isn't he cousins with Lamar Jackson?
Yep, and that's true too. Yeah, Lamar Jackson was a cousin who won the Heisman and went to Louisville. So certainly, Trayvon comes from, Tywone comes from really good bloodlines. And if you remember, too, Tywone has set a pretty lofty goal for himself. He wants to win the Thorpe Award, and he thinks he can do it in Indiana before his career is over. Certainly he'll have 3 or 4 years to do it, but, I wouldn't doubt him based on the talent and his ability, and, maybe he can do it. And, Tom Allen obviously values those big play guys in the secondary. It looks like Tywone has those skills in terms of creating big plays. He had, 4 interceptions and 2 forced fumbles his senior year at Coconut Creek High School down in Florida. He's the kind of guy that has a nose for the football, it appears.
Yeah, you say that's a perfect thing to say. Don't doubt him. Absolutely not. And when you talk to him, you get that feeling. He means what he says. He's not just blowing off. I posted a clip from the interview we did with him, and it got thousands and thousands of views, but it was what he said, but he meant it. He wasn't being cocky, but he just simply said, I didn't come 16 hours away to not, do the deal. And that's why he's here, and he means it, and he means business. But you can see, we talked about the other success of the members of the family that they've had, all reaching that pro level. Man, you got to have a lot going on, not just talent. You got to have a good head on your shoulders. You got to be focused, and you got to be locked in. And he has that. He appears to have that same attitude. And so, no, absolutely will not doubt him, and looking forward to watching him play.
Yeah, and he's a U.S. Army All-American, and it's pretty interesting, too, in talking to Lucretia, in the fact that she let it be known, or her sons let it be known, that they really – They probably could have been recruited by the big 3 schools within the state, Miami, Florida, Florida State. These players were 3-4-star prospects coming out of high school. Tywone is U.S. Army All-American. But she made it really clear that she wanted her kids to get out of the state, and certainly Trayvon had success in Clemson and South Carolina and Tywone here. I think they feel like, the new surroundings being here. And that's something that Tom Allen certainly has managed to do is pluck those kids out of Florida and find those kids that, want to go somewhere else and want to flourish in a different part of the country where it's a little more comfortable and family oriented. And certainly Taiwan's going to have a chance to do that at Indiana.
Absolutely. A lot of basketball last weekend. The Charlie Hughes Classic went on up in Indianapolis. A lot of Indiana targets there. Anthony Leal, Trey Galloway, two of those that both played pretty well.
Yes, and obviously two guys that I think if Indiana staff had its druthers, they'd want to really get them both committed by the fall so that they can sign in November. I mean, if you think about it, Indiana has 4 scholarships to play with at least next year. They've got the 2 that were held over, and then you have, Deron Davis and Devontae Green leaving, definitely for sure. And then you never know about transfers after that. But, you get those 2 guys in the fold early, then you'll still have 2 more to play with. So it'll be interesting to see. But you're talking about 2 guys that are, 2 of the better prospects in the state and 2 guys that can really help the backcourt. And Leo, I mean, I really like his shooting ability. I like his game, as a combo guard, and I think he can be really helpful.
And then, of course, a pretty cool deal going on in Sports Illustrated this month. Blue Chips, it's a big anniversary, man.
Yeah, the Where Are They Now edition. And, it was interesting. I got it. I subscribed to SI and got it in my mailbox the other day, and it was a lot of fun. Some of the stories recounting Bob Knight, coaching that team that went against Pete Bell's team. And, of course, Nick Nolte, as Pete Bell, shadowed Bob Knight, throughout to learn his mannerisms as a coach. And the scene where he, would walk out on his team, he said he picked it up from Knight. He said Knight did that stuff all the time. There was also a discussion about Bob Knight actually shoving Dick Vitale before taping. The Dick tapped him on his shoulder, and Knight was apparently agitated. Now, Vitale said it was a little bit of an exaggeration, that it was just a little bit of a mild shove, a mild push, but some other people that witnessed it said it was a little harder than that. And then, of course, the whole the ending scene with Penny giving Shaq the lob for the game-winning basket. Apparently, there was a story that Bobby Hurley recounted, because he played for Knight's team in the movie, that Knight had instructed him to grab Shaq in the beginning, in the first take, just because Knight didn't want to. He was a little sore about having to lose the game Hollywood style, even though he beat him twice in that gym in Frankfurt. So it was funny, and there was a little confrontation between Knight and the director, and Knight let him know what he thought, but then eventually let him do the scene as it was written.
Yeah, that was a funny story. That he would not allow them to win. They had to win in the editing room. they could not win on the floor. He was not going to allow it. It was just a funny story. And yeah, and actually those scenes were filmed at Frankfurt High School in Frankfurt, Indiana. The Frankfurt Hot Dogs, I think. But a cool gym if you've never been there. Round gym, a very, very cool gym. As you can see, that's still in use today, man.
Yeah, no, and I mean, it's amazing to think 25 years ago, Blue Chip. I always thought it was kind of funny. To me, what was funny was Ed O'Neill as the sports reporter, because that was during his Married with Children fame, and it's just kind of funny thinking of Al Bundy as like the sports reporter in that movie. It seemed a little out of place to me. Like, he was typecast at that time, and of course, then he went on to have success in Modern Family 2 decades later. But at that time, in the early '90s. He was known as Al Bundy, and you have him in the press conference as a sports reporter saying, "Hey, Coach Bell, I don't mean to ask you this, but I have to." Like, such an unrealistic scene too in a press conference setting. Like, he was going to ask about him giving away cars and stuff and everything. I thought the movie at times was a little silly, but there was some great basketball. And the fact that they got Penny Hardaway, Shaquille O'Neal, Bobby Hurley, some of the best players at the time. And then, of course, they had Matt Nover too. As one of the players as well, former IU guy.
Yeah, a huge, heavy Indiana influence on that movie, no doubt. But very cool. He even got Larry Bird made a cameo too.
Oh yeah, Rick Pitino was in it. I mean, there were so many people in that movie that they managed to get. that at that time in the early 1990s were at the top of their game. They really made it authentic in terms of, and of course they had the QB there, announcing, and it was a lot of fun. But Al Bundy as a sports reporter kind of got me a little bit.
Well, it's it's July 4th holiday. Good time. You can go watch Blue Chips and you can go watch Joe Dirt. Snakes and sparklers, man. Snakes and sparklers.
I will be sure to catch up on that for sure, Jim.
Happy 4th of July, brother. We appreciate you.
Happy 4th of July to you.
Kevin Brockway, IU beat writer from CNHI Papers. That's going to wrap up today's show. We appreciate you joining us here on this 4th of July. We greatly appreciate you. Hoping everyone's having a happy and safe 4th of July holiday. We'll be back with more tomorrow, but that's going to wrap up today. For Jake, I'm Jim Coyle from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, and I will see you on the radio.